Okay, in the name of Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful. In the previous lecture, we discussed about the components of a barrage. And I think we discussed the names of all components. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we want to discuss one by one in detail, huh? And before that, we want to see this layout of a barrage. Layout of a barrage means the plan of a barrage structure. And if you see, this one is the layout of a barrage, and these two are the guide banks of the barrage. And this is basically, these are basically the main weirs, and these are the under sluice bays. Okay, these are called as normal bays, and these are under sluice bays. And from you can see that the direction of flow of water is this one, and the canal is off taking from which side? From right or left?
The left.
Left side.
From
Left side.
right. No. This is the direction of flow of water. So you should stand in the direction of flow of water, and then this canal would be on right side. Am I right? Now please check it again.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir. No, it's right.
Okay. So, and this guide bank is left guide bank or right guide bank?
The right
Right.
side.
Right guide.
Right guide bank, and this is the left guide bank. Okay. And this structure where we provide the gates to regulate the flow to the canal is known as head regulator of the main canal. All right. And these are the marginal bunds. Okay. These are called as the marginal bunds. Again, this would be right or left marginal bund? This one.
Right, sir.
Right one.
It's the right
marginal
one.
bund. And this is the left marginal bund. And this is fish ladder. And here this is one wall which is called as divide wall. Okay. So these are the some parts visible here, and this is again one detailed layout of a barrage. And here you can see the same things. So this one, this is the direction of flow of water. And so this is the right bank, guide bank. And you know that it's how it is starting. What is its shape? Like hockey shape. Okay. And here is also. And if you will take the cross section here, what is the shape of these guide banks are? These are trapezoidal, maybe multi-layer trapezoidal cross section. Okay. And again here, this is the divide wall, and this is the main canal. This is the head regulator of the main canal. And here marginal burns, these are not shown. The marginal burns should be here. And these are the main base of the barrage. And these are the under sluice base of the barrage. And this one is a fish ladder. Now we would like to discuss each one by one. And before that, yeah, I have shown some photographs, basically Google images of various barrages. Now this is the plan or layout of the Tonsa barrage. So this one is the barrage, and you can see here these are the divide walls. Okay, and this is the direction of flow of water from top to bottom. So these are the left bank canals. So how many canals are being off taken from the left side? How many canals? Can you see?
Two,
Two canals. Okay, and this is the basically the divide wall on the right side, and these two canals are taken off from the right side. And here you can observe these two lines. What they show? These are the fish. Fish ladders. Now this is the Google plan map of the Sakhar Barrage. And what is the direction of flow of the river? From this to that. The north is in this direction. And this one is the Sakhar Barrage. So if you see closely, you can see this is the divide wall here. And how many are the canals off taking from the from the left side of the barrage? So
sir,
this
two canals are there.
Can you see two? Can you see three?
Yes, sir.
1, 2, 3. This is the fourth. So there are 4 canals,
Okay, sir.
which are off taking from the left bank. What about the right bank? How many canals are taking off? 3 canals.
3.
Right? 3 canals. So how many total canals are being taking off? 7 canals. Now this is the plan view or Google image of Kotri Barrage. This is the the last barrage on the river Indus. So this one is the Kotri Barrage, and this is the direction of flow. And here the river is flowing like that. How many canals are being taken off from the left side?
2, sir.
2 canals. And what about the right side?
1.
1 canal. Okay. Now we want to discuss the longitudinal section of a barrage. Okay, this is the main barrage portion. Number 1. What was the number 1 component? Main barrage portion. So this is the main barrage portion. Which one is upstream side and which is the downstream side? This right one is upstream side. Right one. How you could know it?
Water level is high.
Water level is higher. So we are raising this level. This is called as the pond level of the barrage. And so this one is the upstream concrete floor of the barrage. This one is the upstream glacis. And this is the crest of the weir. This is the downstream glacis. And this is the downstream concrete floor. All right. So if you will see here on the upstream side, on upstream of upstream concrete floor, what is this one? Here there are some concrete blocks, or there is flexible apron. What do you mean by flexible apron? Large size stones, those are thrown in the bed. What is the purpose? To prevent the scouring of the bed of the river on upstream of this concrete floor. Now what is on the downstream side? On the downstream side of the concrete floor, there is inverted filter. And after the inverted filter, then we have downstream flexible apron. Flexible apron means the boulders or stones of large size. Those are provided on the bed of the river. The main purpose is to prevent scouring of the bed. All right. Now this is the point on upstream side from where the upstream concrete floor starts. Floor means it's like a slab, concrete slab. And you know here, this is upstream sheet pile. This one is the upstream sheet pile. And here there is downstream sheet pile. So these are sheet piles. And these two sheet piles are called as intermediate sheet piles. Okay, so there are basically three types of sheet piles: upstream sheet pile, downstream sheet pile, and intermediate sheet piles. And these are the wells, arcasions for foundations. Okay, for improving the bearing capacity of the soil while constructing the this barrage. Okay, now we can go the components of the barrage one by one. What was the first component? Main barrage portion. So main barrage portion means it is mainly composed of RCC slab. Like we make roof slabs. So these are the slabs. So it has how many components? Main barrage portion, it has 5 components. That is the upstream concrete floor, upstream glacis, then the crest, then downstream glacis, then the downstream concrete floor. So these all are mentioned here. Let us discuss the upstream concrete floor. The upstream concrete floor is basically the RCC slab which is provided in between on the upstream of the upstream sheet pile, intermediate sheet pile, and are on the downstream of this. What is this? This is the flexible apron. So this concrete floor is called as upstream concrete floor. What is the main purpose? To protect the middle portion where the piers, gates, and bridge are located. So the main purpose of providing this floor is to prevent this portion, middle portion, where there is a weir, where there are gates and bridge etc. And the piers, bridge piers, they also rest at this place. What is the second? Crest. Crest, is the this part, highest part of the weir is called as the crest. So it has certain width. And on the crest of the weir, the gate has to rest. If we want to close this completely, then we have to close the gates, and the gate bottom where it has to rest, it has to rest on the crest. Actually, crest basically is the highest flat portion of the weir. Then upstream glacis. What is upstream glacis? So this one. So it is the sloping slab in between the downstream part of the upstream concrete floor and the crest. So this one is called as upstream glacis. Then the next is downstream glacis. So what is downstream glacis? So this one is the sloping RCC slab which connects the crest of the weir with the upstream part or upstream end of downstream concrete floor. So this is the downstream concrete floor and this is its upstream end. So it connects the crest with this, and this is called as downstream glacis. And this is very important, downstream glacis, because here we expect the formation of hydraulic jump. Then what is the next? That is the downstream concrete floor. So this is also built of RCC. And it is constructed so as to contain the hydraulic jump. Now, the hydraulic jump which will form here, its turbulence will go to certain length downstream. And this downstream concrete floor has to basically receive that turbulence. So if this turbulence goes further downstream, it can damage the the bed of the stream. So now this was the main barrage portion. Now we have to discuss the sheet piles. So what are sheet piles? Sheet piles are basically made of mild steel, and each portion width is about 1.5 to 2 feet, whereas thickness of the plate is about half inches. Okay, so these are the sheet piles, and these are required. They have the required lengths and have grooves. Here they have grooves for interlocking, as there should be no leakage. So these are the stacks of manufactured sheet piles you can see here, and here you can see these sheet piles are being driven in the at the appropriate location for the construction of barrage. And here you can see that how this sheet pile is being driven through the hammering. So this is a mechanical hammer, and with this the sheet pile is being driven, and this is a sheet piled driven sheet pile wall, and the main purpose is to stop the flow of underground water up to that depth. As we have seen that this one is the upstream sheet pile. So now that is the shape of the sheet pile. So before construction, we drive these sheet piles mechanically into the ground. The main purposes of these sheet piles is to lengthen the seepage path. You know, the water has to, the subsurface flow otherwise has to flow like that, very underneath the concrete footings. But if we will provide this sheet pile, now the water cannot flow, because this will act as a barrier, and then the length of the flow of water increases, length of the path of the flow of water increases, and that is the main purpose. So sheet piles are driven into the soil beyond the maximum possible covered depth. How much should be the, up to what depth these sheet piles should be driven? Up to what depth? Actually, we have to compute the cover depth. And once we will compute the cover depth, let's say cover depth is coming, and cover depth is always measured with respect to the water surface level. So let's say if it is coming up to here, so the length of the sheet pile should be such that it should be more than that cover depth. So up to which cover depth is going, and the sheet pile should be driven even deeper than that. Okay, what is the number? Now there are several types of sheet piles, as we have already discussed. One is the upstream sheet piles, second are the intermediate sheet piles, and then the downstream sheet pile. What is the upstream sheet pile? And actually these are the sheet piles which are driven in the ground, in the bed of the river, at upstream end of the concrete floor. And what are its functions? To protect the barrage structure from scouring. So this sheet pile protects the barrage structure from scouring. Number two, it lengthens the seepage path. So once the seepage path will elongate it, then the uplift pressure on the barrage structure will be reduced. Number two, to reduce the uplift pressure on the barrage floor. And number four, to confine the sand and hence increase the bearing capacity. Now, here, if it is, in between these two, and you can see that the sheet piles if this is upstream sheet pile, this is intermediate sheet pile, then the sand in between will get confined, due to which is bearing capacity of the sand will increase. Now, what are the intermediate sheet piles? So actually, these are the sheet piles which are provided on the upstream end of upstream concrete floor and downstream end of downstream these are provided on the downstream end of upstream concrete floor. You see here. So this is the downstream end of upstream concrete floor, and these are provided on upstream end of downstream concrete floor. Okay, so these are called as intermediate sheet piles, and of course they have also the same purposes. They increase the length of the seepage path. They they increase the bearing capacity because they confine the sand in between, and hence they increase the bearing capacity, and they reduce the uplift pressure. It is the same we can discuss here. These are mentioned. These serves as second line of defense because those are in between on the upstream and downstream sheet piles. They lengthen the seepage path, they reduce the uplift pressure, and they confine the sand, and hence they increase the bearing capacity. What is the downstream sheet pile? Actually, downstream sheet piles are provided on the downstream end of the concrete floor, as you can see here. So this is the sheet pile, all right? And it has a very important function of the downstream sheet pile. Of the first very important function of the downstream sheet pile, to check the exit gradient. If we are not providing the sheet pile, then the subsurface flow has to move in this way. Okay, and due to the sheet pile, the water has to move like that. So they check the exit gradient. And they lengthen the seepage path, and they confine the sand, and hence to increase the bearing capacity of the soil. So these are the functions of the sheet piles. Now the third component of the barrage are the inverted filters, and inverted filters, they are provided in between downstream sheet piles and flexible apron. So if you see here the longitudinal section of the barrage. So here this is the downstream end of downstream concrete floor, and this is the flexible apron. So these are the inverted filters. They consist of 6-inch sand, and over it 9-inch coarse sand, and then over it 9-inch gravel. Okay, and then to protect these gravels, we put concrete blocks of sufficient weight. The sizes of these blocks are 4 feet by 4 feet, and the depth is about 2.75 feet. So and about 6-inch is the slits, 5 to 6 inch. These slits are jharis are left to escape the water. Now, what is its function of the inverted filters? You know that when we close this gate of the barrage, then what happens? Most of the time we have to close the gates of the barrage, particularly when there are low flows or average flows, because we want to pond level up to certain height. And then what happens? The head on this side, there is almost nil flow on downstream side, or very less flow. So the head across the barrage is very high. So that head causes the seepage flow, or the flow of water under the barrage structure like this. So when it will exit from this portion, because this is concrete floor. So on the downstream of concrete floor, inverted filters are provided. As the water should escape and should be discharged from the downstream of the concrete floor, but at the same time the fine sand and fine silt should not move along the when it emerges as surface on the surface. So that is the main purpose. See, the length of the filter should be 2 times downstream sheet pile depth. So this length of the inverted filter should be twice of the downstream sheet pile length. So length is this depth basically of the sheet pile. And what is its function? As I mentioned you earlier, its function is to check the escape of fine soil particles in the seepage water. As you know, the water has to come like this, and from here it has to escape. So it is a filter basically, and the filter in such a way, these are the finest particles, then these are coarser, then further coarser, and that coarse material is then protected by these concrete blocks, and here these are filled with sand. So in this way, so the water can be escaped without taking fine sediments. If those fine sediments start moving, so it means there would be initially the cavities will be formed, and then the whole the soil underneath can be compacted, consolidated, and it may damage this structure, whole structure. So that's why it's very necessary to provide the inverted filters. Now, could you understand what is the function of inverted filter?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now the fourth is flexible aprons. What are flexible aprons? These are the stones which we provide on the bed, and these are provided on both sides, on the bed of the river on both sides, on upstream side and on downstream side. So a flexible apron is placed downstream of the filter, and downstream side where we have to provide flexible apron on the downstream side of the inverted filter, and consist of boulders. How boulders? How large? The large enough not to be washed away by the highly likely by the highest likely water velocity. They should not move. They should be of that much large diameter. And their main function is to prevent scour of the bed of the river and to dissipate energy of water, because they have a lot of Manning's roughness or friction due to the boulder shapes. So these flexible apron, they are provided on the upstream side as well as on the downstream side. On the downstream side, where do we provide it? On the downstream of inverted filter. All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How much should be the length of the flexible apron on upstream side? How much should be the length of the flexible apron on downstream side? On upstream side, it should be 1.5 times the scour depth. The formula of the scour depth we will discuss in the next lecture, and 2 times the scour depth on downstream side. On which side we require longer length of the flexible apron. Flexible apron means large size boulders, which we provide on the downstream side as well as on upstream side. So where do we require larger length of the flexible apron?
So on downstream side, sir.
on downstream side. Why?
Super critical.
Sir, because there are
lot of
a
energy.
lot of turbulence and also the high velocity is on the downstream side.
Because where the hydraulic jump has to form? On the downstream glacis, and its turbulence may continue for some length. So that's why the flexible apron on downstream side is provided longer than on upstream side. It is 2 times the scour depth. This scour depth may be from here to here, Anna? From here to here, this may be the scour depth. So double of that, and here only 1.5 times of that. All right. And you know, the failure of the hydraulic structures, most of the time it starts from downstream side. For example, if this this inverted filter is not working properly, then the fines will be taken off from here, and that is called as undermining, okay, or piping. And once the piping takes place, it increases the porosity of the soil under this structure, and then it becomes a lot of porous, and a time comes when it's settled down, and then the hydraulic structure fails. Usually hydraulic structure, they mostly fail. Their failure starts from the downstream side, because the downstream side is more critical as compared to upstream side. So flexible apron length is provided longer on downstream side as compared to on. Okay, number 5 are the under sluices. What are under sluices? These are the bays at extreme ends of the barrage, adjacent to the canal regulator, having lower crest level than ordinary bays. So under sluices basically are provided in between the wide wall and the head regulator of the main canal. Okay, if we are providing, now if you see the this figure, so these are the under sluice bays, and these are provided in between the wide wall and head regulator of the main canal. So these are called as under sluice bays. So their crest level is kept lower as compared to the crest level of the normal bays. If we want to take a canal from this side, from the left side as well, then we need to provide this divide wall here as well. Okay. Once we will provide a divide wall here as well, then these bays would be under sluice bays, because it would again be in between the wide wall and head regulator of the main canal. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So under sluice bays are basically the bays which are provided in between the wide wall and head regulator of the main canal. Okay, their crest level of the weir is kept lower as compared to normal bays. Now, what are the functions of these? Now you can see this is the plan of a barrage. This one is the divide wall, and this is the direction of flow, and you know, this is the head regulator of the main canal, and this is an off-taking canal. Let's say X is the length of the head regulator of main canal. Then how much should be the length of the under sluice portion? It should be 1.5 times the X, where X is the length of the head regulator of the main canal. Okay. So how much should be the length which we should provide of the under sluice base? Usually 1.5 times the length of the head regulator of main canal. Now, what are the functions of these undersluice bays? So they have very important function. Number one, it allows the formation of silt pocket. So this one is the silt pocket, all right, in front of undersluices. So these are undersluices, and have you seen your pocket? So what is a pocket? Pocket is that in our shirts, which is closed from three sides and open from one side. That is called as pocket. So it is open from this side and it is closed from three sides usually, and only we allow water from the upper part of the head regulator of the main canal, as less silt water should enter into the canal. So its first function is of the undersluices, it forms a silt pocket. What happens in the silt pocket? It reduces the flow velocities, due to which silt deposits in the silt pocket. And now, you know, for several months, the silt is keep on depositing here in the silt pocket, and relatively less silt water enters in the canal. Accumulated silt. What is the third function? You know, maybe in after 9-10 months of the flowing of this canal, a lot of silt has to be deposited here in the silt pocket. Then these undersluices are used to flush this sediment, and when we do the flushing of the sediments in the closure period, when the gates of this head regulator of the main canal are closed in the closure period in January, we don't see water in the rivers, and then the whole discharge is passed. Then these main bays are closed and undersluice bays gates are open, and the whole discharge passes through here. So it flushes this deposited sediment, maybe of the 9-10 months sediment here. So these are the three functions of the undersluice bays or undersluices. Is it clear?
Sir, kindly first function थोड़ा explain कर देंगे?
First function?
Yes, sir. Silt pocket formation of.
Yeah, this is silt pocket. Actually, as I mentioned you, our pocket. What is our pocket? To which we say pocket, which is closed from three sides and open
Yes,
from
sir.
one side. That is pocket. Is that?
Yes, sir.
So if these undersluice bays are closed, and this is a divide wall, and here also its crest is much at higher level, so a silt, so it means for certain level this is also closed. So this makes a pocket, and as silt deposit inside, so this is called as a silt pocket. So undersluice bays actually they facilitate in the formation of a silt pocket. Okay, that's
सर
clear.
इसमें height होती है canal head regulator की.
नहीं,
ये
canal
किन
head
किन चीजों पर depend करती है?
actually it depends on many factors. What is our pond level, all right, of the barrage, and then how much we want to convey discharge in this canal, and where we have to set the crest level. We need the head over the crest should be such that it can pass the design discharge. I think if you remember the V notch and rectangular notch experiments, तो discharge किस पे depend करता है? Over the weir or over the notch is a function of head. कहाँ पर head? कहाँ पे head?
Notch.
On the crest of the notch. तो ये crest होगा ना, इसका यहाँ पे कोई crest होगा. Crest के ऊपर वो जो हमारा design discharge है, तो we can compute that how much head we require over the crest of the weir of the head regulator of the main canal. तो वो head हम compute कर लेंगे. तो वो हमने फिर ऐसे रखना है कि ये pond level जहाँ है, so this is the pond level, and इसको हम ऊपर ले जाएंगे, and we require this much head. So in this way we fix the crest level of the head regulator of the weir of the head regulator of the main canal. ठीक है?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So means the crest of this sphere is much higher. So that's why we say that this is wall, this is one wall, this is second, this is third. So a silt pocket has formed. Okay, now we can go to the next component of the barrage, that is the divide wall. As I have shown you divide walls, in the plan, in the layout. Yeah, here, this is the divide wall. And here, this one is the divide wall. It is provided on upstream side as well as on downstream side. Okay. Now we'd like to see what is divide wall and what are its functions. It is a wall which separates the under sluice base from the normal base. So there are under sluice base, there are normal base, and this wall basically separates these two bases. And you know how many these walls we have to provide in the barrage? How many? Either one or how many walls we have to provide?
So depends upon
Two or one.
Okay, if we want to offtake canals from only one bank, then we require only one divide wall. But if we want to offtake canals from both of the banks of the river, then we need two divide walls. Okay, and if we want to offtake 3 canals, then how many divide walls do we need?
2, sir.
2.
And if we want to take off 7 canals, then how many divide walls do we need?
2, sir.
2, sir.
2 by divide. 2 से ज़्यादा नहीं हो सकती है ना? The divide walls would be 2. But how the length of the divide wall we have to compute on upstream side etc. that we have seen here. Okay, x dash that we will discuss later on, and its length on upstream side should be how much? Should be sufficient to keep the heavy turbulence well away from the head regulator of the main canal. So its length should be sufficient. This length on upstream side, that there should not be heavy turbulence here. And what about its length on downstream side? Its length on downstream side should be sufficient to cover the hydraulic jump and the resulting turbulence. So mainly the function of is that divide wall is to basically take care of the turbulence. Now on the downstream side, its length should be such that the turbulence which will produce by the hydraulic jump, it should take care of that, and the length should be such that where the turbulence should reduce much or adequately. All right, so these are about the lengths on the upstream side and downstream. What are the main functions of the divide wall? First function, it separates undersluice base from the normal base. Why? Because they have the different depth of flows. Do you think a normal base, for example, when there are low flows, we close all normal base usually, or we may close the undersluice base and we may slightly open the normal base, so there is flow on this side, no flow on that side. But when we want to flush sediments, then we have to close the main bay gates and we open the undersluice base gates. So again, there is difference in head. So in undersluices, the depth of flow would be more, and here very less depth of flow. So as the depth of flow is very less, so to separate these two flows from the normal base and undersluice base, we require a wall, and that is called as divide wall. Main function is to avoid the heavy turbulence which would otherwise occur due to differential head into sections. And what is the second function? This helps in better silt control by creating a still pond in front of the canal intake. So divide wall also facilitate us in making the silt pocket. And number 3, to generate a parallel flow and thereby avoid damage to the flexible protection area of the undersluice portion. Now the next is fish ladder. We have very little time, huh?
Excuse me.
So what is Hanji? Sorry.
Sir, can you explain the previous point, the third one? For the divide wall.
Previous.
Sir, previous means you are talking about the functions of divide wall. Third one, the last one.
Last one.
What do you mean by that? Yes, sir.
Actually, you know, due to difference in levels, there are flows and the turbulence will produce a lot. And if you will put a wall, then what we can do, we can separate these two flows, and the flexible aprons can be protected well. But if the water are mixed, then it is difficult to protect them.
Okay.
All right. Okay, then I think we should stop here. But anyway, these are the essential components of a barrage, and inshallah, if you know, the SOPs of the COVID, they allow us, then we will inshallah visit a barrage as well. Once you should understand these all components, and then you should see physically these all components of the barrage, then you can understand in a better way. Okay, I think we should stop here, and we went in more details, and now I would like to take your attendance. And okay, I have taken your attendance, and now, okay, ji, thank you very much.